You know, I got here today, and seriously, I'm wondering, what am I actually doing here? You know, because it's just not the typical audience for me. I usually speak kind of more in the design world and the graduate student world to young and stupid people, which I think is a good place to start in life and to continue for quite a while, in my opinion. But I realized, you know, because I got to spend the day here and listen and now understand kind of who you are and what we have in common. And the first thing we have in common is that I am also a small business and you're a small agency. Small business in my world is if you're under $50 million in sales, you're kind of considered small. And in both of the businesses that I've had, the first one that I sold, which you'll learn, and the one that I currently have, we haven't quite hit 50 million either. But the second one that's most intriguing to me is that I am actually a client. And I can talk about the red flags in looking for an agency, which I'll share with you. I'm a client, and I guess I would put myself in the organic, what did he say before? Greg, was it Greg? He said organic emotional client. I'm the good one. So my story in a nutshell. Actually, I created this little part, this beginning part for the agency that I work with to revamp my website. And I wanted to give them kind of an emotional, personal, just quick synopsis of kind of who I am. So that's the truth. I barely got through school. I mean, it was a headline in an American Express piece of an interview with me. I'm very proud of the fact that I never graduated from college. I'm an inspiration to all the dropouts out in the world. And it was 1976, way before some of you were really functioning. I was 26, and I'm from New York City, and I was a loft dweller, Bleecker and Bond, which is now called Soho, which is kind of unrecognizable from when I started there. And another loft dweller, Kathy Moskal, who was an art teacher, and I was fumbling a lot before I met her about what I was going to do in my life. We were all artists in this building. And we had an idea. This is what we used to wear back then. It was cheap chic instead of, you know, Reeboks, you know, or Nikes. We were wearing these that we bought in Chinatown for $3.99. And drunk one night, we thought, hey, this would be really cool if they came in colors. We bought them in Chinatown, and we bleached them out that night with Clorox and dyed them with Ritz dyes. And why don't they make these in colors? And it's a crazy, I've literally spent 2 hours speaking just on this chapter of my life of taking that first idea and making it a business. But we fast forward now to 6 months later, and we had a 2-page spread in Vogue. We didn't even have a company. It said Shoes by Kathy and Sandy. And then the editor-in-chief of Vogue, who was Grace Marabella at the time, you know, came in, darlings, you're amazing. You know, what's the name of your company? Who do you sell to? We had no idea what she was talking about. It was Friday. We had made these shoes on our kitchen top, you know, with written boiling water in these 12 colors that look like, you know, vegetable dyes. And she said, we want all the same shoes on Monday morning, this is on a Friday, in size 10 for the model. So trying to find size 10 in Chinatown, we spent literally, it was like, we brought these shoes, I mean, I can't, it's a wonderful, wonderful American dream story of how we did this. But anyway, so we got this 2-page spread, and all the magazines were saying, what else do you do? We offered these shoes in 1 million colors. Basically, my loft that I lived in, I was now sharing it with 20 washing machines, and you know, it was a wonderful, crazy, nerve-wracking ride. But all the editors were saying, what else do you do? And so very shortly, we were, you know, this is early. This is like, you know, the beginning of time, you know, things, you know, now you can buy a t-shirt in like 100 colors. Back then, you were lucky if they came in 3, other than white. So anyway, we were kind of at the cusp of bringing commodity products and offering them in a myriad of colors. So we decided to zero in on hosiery. There was nothing else like it. There was nothing else that we could wear personally. And we dropped the shoes from Hue, and we became basically Hue legwear, because that was one of the products that we were offering, cotton nurses stockings that we were buying on Orchard Street and dyeing them. And slowly but surely we started to make tights. And we started this in 1978 to when we sold it in 91, and then we stayed on for 2 years. So over that period of time, we went from, you know, washing machines in my loft to about 40 million when we sold it. But we looked like we knew what we were doing, but honestly, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. And, you know, we almost lost it a couple of times. I mean, that was never public, but we learned so much. I mean, the bottom line is that good product and good marketing, and we were good at both of those things, my partner and I, are not enough to be successful in business. That's what I've certainly learned. We made every mistake in the book, and that's what I mean, because if you want to do something that sustains what you love to do, you're going to have to be good at a lot of things that might not be comfortable and natural talents of yours. So it's kind of living up to those requirements. Oh, and I'm not going to go through all the lessons I learned, because I've kind of switched out my whole thing after listening to today. But I guess the biggest thing I'd say I learned through this is that before you embark on any kind of business, rather than just listening to whether or not your friends, your mother, and your neighbors tell you, asking them, do you think this is a good idea or not? You have to go to whoever you think your ultimate customer is and ask them if they would buy your service or your product. So I think that is the biggest, deepest lesson learned, I think, in terms of starting a business. So after selling the company in 1991 and leaving in 1994, I had to think about what to do next. I was obsessed with the butterfly chair. I love the concept of changing the cover of your chair on a whim. And the Ray Bowls were born. And these are baskets that I made out of stretch mesh, basically lingerie and girdle material, that I was stretching over a kind of a metal structure. All of this was named after my older son, Raymond. I use lingerie, and basically that simple mechanism of making a concavity out of a textile, as simple as that was, by simply just bringing it down in the center, somebody had just never done it before. And it was like this, one of those, like, God, why didn't I think of that ideas? And I won a lot of awards and a lot of utility patents on that simple concept. So, it could contain a lot of different things. And the MoMA Design Store launched their website with the image of my bowls, which made me very proud. And then I went on to make Ray trays and Ray mail. Meanwhile, I had another son after Raymond. I have 2 sons, and I'm convinced the guy is going to be in a lot of therapy, because nothing was named after him. I have Ray bowls, Ray boxes, He doesn't talk about it yet because he's only 19, but when he's 40, that's when he's going to be paying the shrink. And Ray Hyde. So then I wanted to make a container that would suggest picnic, kind of indoor-outdoor. And I became really intrigued with outdoor furniture upholstery, which I wasn't really focused on because the furniture was generally so ugly. But I started to realize, hey, maybe this could work. And I'm showing this to you because you're now all my good friends, because it's really, really unsuccessful. But this is just something I handmade to see if I could do it. And oops, that didn't work. But I fell madly in love with the potential of this textile, which was really a boring textile, but the manufacturing process had tremendous opportunities for me as a designer, because it's extruded yarns, and I could custom color it, and the weaving possibilities, and you can do metallics. So I was envisioning lots of other things. This is just one thread of products that we make, but it's probably the biggest out of this material. So it was a no-brainer to make a placemat because it was like a perfect product. It looked beautiful. It was durable. It was washable, which is therefore why we do so well in restaurants. We made rugs with this material by backing it. We make floor tiles, we make upholstery, we make wall coverings, even upholstery in cars. We sell to stores. There's a little store. We do you sell to corporate interior, to the A&D community, to hotels and restaurants. We sell through our own website, and we are shortly going to be opening our very first store. Even though everything pretty much that we do is made in the US, which is amazing, about 50% of it is sold throughout the world. It's no small feat, and it wasn't even an effort. It just kind of happened naturally. We are truly a very international brand. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about something other than, showing you pretty pictures. Let's see. I'll tell you a story. When I was in my early 20s, I started this, hue the first time kind of more in my mid-20s. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was, confused and, I think in a good way. I guess I really believe in taking crooked paths, because I think if you don't bump into walls, it doesn't push you into it forces you to kind of look at other possibilities. So one of the fun things I thought was, oh, maybe I'm an artist, because I did artwork even though I had never studied art. It was always something that I did. So I thought, oh, I'm an artist. So I sent my slides to all these galleries in New York, and I was completely ignored by, it's probably 90% of them, rejected by the rest, except for one, who called me into his gallery and said, I'd like to look at your portfolio in person. So I go up there, and he, is looking through my work, and he's quiet, and he's seriously looking, and he says to me the most hurtful thing imaginable, but without the slightest hint of meanness in his voice. He said, your work is really commercial. Have you thought about being a commercial artist? And it's like I took my portfolio and I must have sobbed all the way across 57th Street, like, oh, God. So, but I realized I am all about being commercial. First of all, I realized I like making multiples of things. But the biggest thing is that a true artist really doesn't compromise. It's basically what you see is what you get. They're true to their own vision, and that, to me, is one of the defining principles or attributes of an artist. And I like to collaborate, really, and listen to an audience. I like to make things for an audience. And it's that fine balance of being keeping my own design integrity and balancing with that with what the customer wants. So kind of compromising without diluting is major for me. And balancing, my need and desire to express myself with what people actually want is my goal. And when I achieve that, and feel like I haven't compromised myself and I'm actually selling it, I feel like I've hit the jackpot. So I'm not a true artist because I'm in a constant dialogue with my customers and my audience. I listen and evaluate feedback. And it's through this that I feel like my best decisions are made. But successfully evaluating that feedback and overcoming that tension of what I personally like and what the people actually want is important. And I mean, really still today, after I don't know how many years have I been doing this, it's still excruciating, and I do it every day, is to open up my door and say, what do you guys think? Do you like it? It's being, I mean, you guys must have to deal with it. And I've seen this, in working with other creatives, what it's like for them to present work. And I have it's the same thing. And I understand the pain. It's very real. So I've collaborated in a way with my customer, and I've collaborated. I collaborate with people all the time, as we all do. It's the most, in a way, the most satisfying part of what I do. But the truly most satisfying part to me is collaborating with other creative people, and somehow together, each one of us contributing to something so that the lines are very blurry between who did what, and what you get is this third thing that's better than anything that either one of you could have done on your own. And I kind of heard that today, especially through that collaboration between Minnie and, I'm sorry with the names, but you know who I'm talking about from earlier this morning. I forgot who the agency was. What was his name? Okay, you know more about this than I do, who all these people are. This was a fascinating day. Oh yeah, Ed Cotton and Minnie, right? I have worked with creatives, and perhaps because I'm a relatively small company, I've always worked one-on-one with people. I have a photographer that I've been working with for 14 years, a graphic designer who I've been working with for, I don't want to say, I mean, from Hue days, so probably 25 years. And, you know, I've had people say to me over the years, like, why don't you work with somebody new? I mean, you know, put a new spin on things. You work with somebody new. And I used to like doubt myself, like, what's the matter with me? How come I want to work with the same person all the time? And I felt better because not so long ago, I met with the husband of somebody that used to work for me, who is the videographer for Apple and has been there forever. And he said to me, you know, I've always been so impressed that you've always worked with Victor Schrager all these years. And it made me feel better because honestly for me, at least over, you know, these last 14 years with Victor, I feel like we've done something new each time we've done something together. And we do an average of at least 2 major photo shoots a year, sometimes quite a few more. And I feel that each of us has like grown on our own, grown together. We're like an old married couple, but one that is, you know, turbulent in a way. It's not always comfortable, but I feel like our work together is getting better and better. So again, that collaboration also between Ed Cotton and Minnie, you know, they were, I think, 9 years together. Going through the ups and downs it's a very intimate and very, very special relationship, which I have gotten tremendous joy from. And the same thing with my graphic designer. And it's interesting because both of them are very separate. It's not like they work together. They're both independent and they have other customers, although at this point I think I'm maybe their biggest, but they don't actually work together. Bridget's remote, I barely see her. And Victor, you know, I see like 2-3 times a year. But you can see that, I mean, they know where each other's work land up together when they see my finished pieces or whatever it is that I'm printing or whatever. So anyway, recently I realized that I had to redo my website. I mean, that's an interesting quick story. I mean, we didn't really have a website. We had an informational website maybe about 5 years ago. We became an e-commerce site, and we hired a very tiny agency, I mean, basically a couple, and they designed our website. And at the time, you know, it was good, but, you know, I have to say now in retrospect, having experienced something else, there was not a lot of joy in it. Because, I mean, that's funny, I've used that word, and it's certainly not in this speech, you know, joy. I mean, you know, we're in a creative field. I mean, you all are. And if you're not getting joy from the work, you know, and from the outcomes of those collaborations, it's sad, you know. So I didn't really feel a lot of joy working with those people. And in fact, in the last couple of years, we decided, you know, we need to rehaul this. We don't really like it. And so I shopped around for the first time in my life for an agency. And it was hard, you know, I'm definitely one of those clients that, what's your budget? I don't know. I mean, I'm like, not your best. And it was, I don't remember if you put down that as one of the reasons of like, I mean, I just don't know. I mean, I don't know. Tell me how much I have to spend to have a good website. I mean, that was really kind of where I was at. And they probably took me on for all the reasons you're not supposed to do it, because I was a cool company. They loved our photography. They knew they were working with really great assets. I think we liked each other. And what they proposed was exorbitant, but we did it. And so I was actually a good client in that respect, because I didn't really have a budget, but I was willing to pay what they asked. Anyway, it was a confusing relationship, and it's ongoing as of today, and I can't mention names, but I started with their little boutique firm in Soho, and it started really well, really good chemistry, and I had a project manager, and I knew the partner, and we all got along, and part of it I knew, was part of the, treating me well as a client, and part of it I felt was just genuine, we liked each other. Within maybe, I don't know, a month after starting with them and signing the contract, they had sold their company to a bigger company. So all of a sudden, it's not even the same name. And the partner called me and explained, and look, I know having sold a company, it can destroy your culture. It certainly destroyed Hugh when we sold our company. So I was skeptical, but I was trusting, and at least the people that I was working with, I still felt very confident about, and he was telling me that nothing was going to change. So we started working together, and the project manager then quit. Okay, so now, they had sold the company, and I don't have the same project manager who I loved. Don't worry, the partner says, everything's going to be fine. I'm going to give you another guy. He's really, really good. And I'm still going along. And I didn't understand in these agencies that the creative is like this other thing, and then the people that you have contact with are anyway, so now I'm working with, I was like, so all of a sudden there's like these new people that come in. Okay, now here's your creative guy, and here's your this guy. And so anyway, I fell in love with the creative people. And talking about, I mean, it feels like they were in a separate orbit or something, but I adored them, and they made beautiful, beautiful work. And it was a very joyful, joyful collaboration. And actually, when I was saying, you have to open your door and say, do you like it? I mean, the main guy that was the head of the design, I mean, he came in to do me a soft presentation before it was like, kind of like, because it was very sweet, our relationship, and he was saying, I'm just going to come in by myself, and I'm going to show you on my laptop the options that we're come up with. And he was sweating bullets, and he said he hadn't slept the night before. He was so nervous. Anyway, it was magnificent. I thought it was magnificent. I thought the options were magnificent. I was thrilled. And they have made a beautiful website. But in that period of time, and working with them was perfection, the creative team. Then let's see, what was the next big mess? Let's see, then, and then, then now that it's done and we're up, and I have, they haven't finished. There's a lot of stuff they were supposed to do and they didn't finish. And now we're like, it's like, and I have another experience with another kind of agency. It's like, what do you call it? Like, I think I wrote it down here. Sell in versus sell through. That's a terminology that you use in my business. You can get a buyer, sell to Bloomingdale's and the buyer will buy it, but there's no guarantee that the customer that's in the store is going to buy it. Well, that's kind of what they did. They got me to make this product, but then the selling through and finishing it, it's like the contractor you always hate. I mean, it's like that, can't you, I know it does not look big, but this little thing is holding up everything else. I see you're all really quiet and probably feeling bad now, or saying, that's not me, or whatever. But that's where I am in this particular instance. So we're struggling with having them finish, and now literally, a few days ago, our project manager has left. The new project manager, who was really good after the first project manager left, and got us through the whole design phase, kept us on schedule so that we could launch it, but we launched it without all the fixings, So, so now the current project manager has left, and that literally happened a few days ago. So now I'm in conversations with the new partner about how we're going to end this whole thing. And it's ironic, because first of all, I spoke on their behalf as a recommendation. Well, I spoke very glowingly about them to a marketing company that their parent company had brought in to kind of evaluate them. And I had just finished the website, we had just launched it, I spoke only the best. And then I spoke, when we did a press release, I spoke so highly of them, and I just emailed the new partner and said, you know, I was speaking so glowingly, but honestly, right now, if those people came to me, I wouldn't be speaking as glowingly. But anyway, I think it's going to get fixed. It'll get fixed. But I'm kind of a real buzzkill right now. Let me tell you about another bad story. But let me just go back to the creative team. But I just, look, I'm very sensitive to, you know, business transitions and selling a company and dealing. I mean, so I'm empathetic to that. But you know, but I'm having the same problem with the store that we're opening. You know, I hired designers to design the store. My husband's an architect, so he knows what he's doing. But we wanted a fresh point of view, and. So same thing, you know, they came in, they pitched me, their design work was amazing, but oh my God, the follow through. So I could definitely, you know, you guys should probably go to a conference where all you have is clients coming up, telling you what you do well and what you don't. So, I mean, I think, honestly, that would be an interesting thing. I don't know if you could stomach it, but I mean, I could benefit from it in my own business. So what else do I want to say? I want to say that I don't want to diminish the huge impact, though, that these web designers or web marketing people did for our website. What they did, that creative team, was I told them, don't look at anything we've done. Just take what we've done, what you've liked of what we've done, and just give me something new. Give me a new perspective. And they shook up everything for us. And what they did graphically completely informed everything that we did. I mean, they have no idea. If they had any idea how much I benefited from them based on the money that I spent, they would have charged me a lot more, because they didn't understand how much I was going to take it and use it. So, you know, I'll show you this. I was wondering if it's really helpful. This was my old website, okay? You know, it looks horrible to me right now. But anyway, this was my old website. And these, you know, this is what, that's what what am I doing exactly? That's my old splash page on the web. I hired these guys to change my look. This is my new splash page. And the biggest thing that they did was they liberated us from using the same font all the time, and that we could be free to, at least on, you know, bold headlines, play around a little bit. They had so much respect for our imagery, and it was very important that whoever I used would work with our strengths. And so, I mean, these on their own don't look so special, but in relationship to what I used to have. So on the left is an old cover, and on a printed brochure, and on the right is a new. And it did, you know, when you're working with someone and it's good on a creative side, it just propels you into like so much other kind of thinking. It really inspired me to change up a lot of what I was doing. You can look on the left is, you know, an old, let's say, first, you know, what do you call it, first spread, and on the right is a new spread. And I don't know if you guys can see how much I know where we've changed. The left is one, and the right is new. And it's more like, you know, making these bold statements with typeface, which I had never done before. And anyway, it was very liberating. This is in the contract side. To the left is an old one, and to the right is new. The left is old, the right is new. Left old, right new. That's my husband on the right-hand side. And that might be it. Is that it? Yeah. Okay. I don't know. What do you think? Okay, good.